Anyway, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Valerieann Giovanni, and I've been in the doTERRA business since the beginning. And so I've, done it for all these years. doTERRA's been around for about 8 years, right? And I'm actually the first person to earn the $1,500 Power of 3 bonus. So I've been doing this for a long time. And, there's not that many people that are at the top making big money. And I'm really excited to change that, so that we can make the money easier. People that are working hard, because actually 85% of the people in doTERRA are not tapping into the financial benefits that are there. And it's really an interesting thing to know that you can do this. And I want to share something today that's going to hopefully make a difference for you, okay? So here's the story. How many of you remember, if you didn't live then, at least you've seen movies or pictures of the old Navy ships with the huge, like 25-foot wide dish on them for the radio? How many of you remember that, have seen that? Like this huge round dish on the Navy ship. And it was for one channel, one radio channel. And have you ever heard the reception on the channel? It's like not very good signal, right? And just one channel. And why did it take such a big dish? It took so much power, didn't it? They had to have so much power back then to run that one signal. Okay? So fast forward to a later day when there's like an 18-inch dish. And how many channels? Like 540 channels or something like that, right? And, what's the difference? Have you ever thought about that? What makes the difference between the 25-foot dish on the old ships versus the 18-inch dish and, one channel versus 540 channels? What made the difference? What made the difference? This is the difference. So in the old way, you had to have a lot of power because there was such a low frequency available. There was a low frequency. And now we have access to high frequency. High frequency. So it doesn't take much power. Think about your cell phone. This cute little device we're using right now, okay? Most of you are probably on your cell phone, right? That's how most of us do Periscope. So you think about it. How much power does it take, and how many channels do you have? Wow. Do you have to have all this power? No, you don't. And yet, what kind of channels are available to you on your cell phone? Like everything. It's huge. Like we can talk to each other around the globe, can't we? Instantaneously. We can watch movies, do Facebook, do Periscope. I mean, look at this. We can do live videos now. Is that amazing, right? And we can hold the device in our hand versus having a 25-foot signal that, or power source that we have to do the signal. What if we were walking around with that? You can't. But here we have this. And so it all has to do with the amount of power versus the frequency and putting those together. Okay? So what about you? Okay, let's bring this back to you. So you're exerting a lot of energy. It's like you're putting a lot of power into things. Let's see, what's another example? I'm going to bring in another example. So let me think of this. Like, I know, like years ago when I was a kid, and I'm a youngster, I'm like 57. So if you're a youngster like me, you'll know what I'm talking about. I used to walk to my friend's house to visit. If I wanted to see a friend, I walked to their house, or I got on my bicycle and pedaled to their house, or I got on my horse, my pony named Candy Cane, and rode Candy Cane to visit my friends. Did any of you do anything like that when you wanted to go visit your friends? Yeah, and you had to use a lot of power, right? Yeah. And now, if you want to talk to your friends, what do you usually do? You text them. You like touch with a finger, right? And you call them on the cell phone. Or you text, right? So how much energy do you use now versus what you used when you were a kid? Way less, right? Way less. Because we have learned how to harness frequency and power in a different way. So we're able to use less energy, less power, okay? Right? Good point. So yes, if you are using your energy, you're exactly right, on all these things that takes your power, what does that do to your frequency? To your energy, to your frequency. So did you know that everything has a measurable frequency? Did you know that? Some people know that, some people don't. In fact, what was his name? Bruce Tanio. I don't know if you remember him, but years ago he did some measurements, and these measurements were really interesting. And he measured things that you can measure in megahertz, right? And some of the things, I just got a list here, like the human brain has a megahertz measurement between 72 and 90 megahertz, and cold symptoms. Did you know that even illnesses have frequency? They do. So a cold symptom is at around 58 megahertz. So, you know, pay attention to this, you know, okay? So flu symptoms, 57 megahertz. Cancer, around 42 megahertz. So illnesses have a frequency, health has a frequency, emotions have a frequency, good emotions have higher frequency, negative, depression, other emotions that are lower, you know, when you feel down, you're vibrating at a lower frequency, So, you know, even when you look at if you're using drugs, you know, painkillers or any kind of a drug, they measure at 0 megahertz. They're dead. There's no energy there, right? So what do you think that does to your own frequency? Okay, what about even dry herbs are 12 to 22 megahertz, okay? Synthetics are 0 megahertz. What's another one? Fresh produce is up to 15 megahertz. Processed canned food, 0 megahertz. Are you starting to put some things together here? I hope so. And another thing that's interesting is that death begins at 25 megahertz. So frequency is a big deal. And so when you are, hi there, it's good to see you. So when you are doing things that raise your frequency, it takes less energy or less power to accomplish the same things as compared to when you are in a lower frequency and lower energy, okay? So it's important to do things that increase your energy, increase your frequency, okay? And do we have, you know, are you guys understanding this? So far, so good? So this is my story to you. Okay, thank you. That it's important to raise your frequency. Raise your frequency. The higher your frequency, the faster you'll be able to create what you want and learn how to do things differently. So even with the doTERRA business, okay, so some people are still, and this may be you, going to a 9-to-5 job, and it takes a lot of physical effort, right? You have to put a lot of effort out and energy. And if you start to raise your frequency, raise your thoughts, raise your ideas, and okay, you want to change this, right? So, you work on yourself, increase your frequency and your knowledge, your wisdom, and then you can make different choices that will give you a different result. So, using the doTERRA business, for example, it's a system put together that is brilliant. It's a high frequency business situation, which will support you in your ability to create income with less power, less work, physical work. You can leverage other people and all work together, and everybody works together, and it creates more for all. Isn't that awesome? Use less power and accomplish more easily. And there are things that you can do with the business and ways of doing it that take less energy, less power, and it's being smart. And I really have a lot to share about that. In fact, in future scopes, I want to draw some things out for you physically with a pencil. Draw some things out because I want to show you some things that will help raise your frequency and speed things up for you so that you can accomplish it, the same thing with less work, because you don't need to work as hard as you are. If you're going around in circles and doing the same thing and not getting the results, then I would suggest that you stop and look at yourself and your own frequency, your own energy level. So are you happy? Are you happy? Do you realize if you're happy, that's a higher frequency? Did you know that? Emotions have frequency, like I said before. And so you need to raise your frequency and start right where you're at. So for example, if, here's a good one. If you're depressed and you're down and maybe you start to feel angry, you might think that, oh, that's not good. In fact, people around you, when somebody's depressed, sometimes that they will actually not, if you start to get angry, they want you to be depressed because it's easier to handle your depression than your anger. And the truth is, anger has a higher frequency than depression. Okay? So anger is a little bit higher than depression. So even though it might be a negative energy, it's better than depression, because if you get angry at your circumstances, like I'm not okay with it, then you're going to be motivated to take the next step up and go up to start feeling maybe, even a little more neutral, and, keep raising your frequency, because you can't go from depression to like super excited all of a sudden. You can't do it. So acknowledge yourself for every little step along the way as you increase your energy, increase your frequency, because every little thing you do to increase your frequency, to increase your happiness, to increase joy, makes life easier for you. It takes less power to accomplish the same thing. And the things that you want are vibrating at a different frequency than where you are right now, because if you don't have them, you're not vibrating at that frequency. So you're working hard to get something that you're not going to get because you're not vibrating at the right frequency. And if you want to understand that more, actually go to the doTERRA, Essential 5 team page, the Facebook page. It's on the profile. Click on that and go watch the Daily V number 22. If you haven't seen that one, I draw a picture on that one where I talk about that. Okay, so you'll understand more about what I'm talking about with this. So increase your frequency, and you're not going to have to work so hard and take so much of your power and energy. Can you do that? Do something today to raise your frequency. Use some essential oils. That will do it. It always does. Awesome. Good job. It's good to see you guys. I appreciate you hopping on here and spending a little time with me. Yes, and hopefully, you know, that gives you a new way of looking at life and looking at things so you can kind of change things and, you know, up your frequency. So until next time, keep your feet on the ground, reach for the stars, and live from your heart. Catch you later. Bye-bye.